He was ready to walk out the door and never look back. One blind date, one lie, and one woman in a wheelchair who would change everything he thought he knew about love, fear, and courage. What started as anger turned into a choice that threatened to cost him his job, his reputation, and even his daughter. People stared, someone reported him, and the world quietly asked him to give her up for comfort. But what happened next forced him to decide whether love was worth risking everything he had left. Stay with this story, because the decision he makes will break him or remake him forever. Caleb Wright did not believe in second chances anymore. Not after the night his wife died. Not after the years he spent waking up before dawn, packing lunches with shaking hands and pretending strength for a 6-year-old girl who still asked when mom was coming home. Hope to Caleb had become a dangerous habit, one he had learned to break. That was why he sat in his truck outside Riverstone Coffee for nearly 10 minutes. Engine running, knuckles white around the steering wheel. Rain streaked down the windshield in thin, restless lines. Downtown Portland looked gray and unforgiving, like it was daring him to step out and fail again. This was a mistake. He knew it. His phone vibrated in his palm. "Evan, just go in. 30 minutes. If it's awful, I'll buy dinner for a month." Caleb closed his eyes. Evan had been relentless lately. Too many lectures about loneliness. Too many reminders that Sophie needed more than a tired father who slept on the couch and stared at old photos after midnight. Evan meant well. That was what made it worse. Caleb typed back nothing. He shoved the phone into his pocket, killed the engine, and stepped into the rain. Inside, the cafe was warm and smelled like coffee beans and cinnamon. Soft music hummed through the speakers. A few couples sat close together, laughing quietly, unaware that Caleb felt like an intruder in a world he no longer belonged to. Then he saw her. She was near the window, exactly where Evan had said. Dark hair pulled back neatly, a calm posture, a wheelchair angled slightly toward the table. Her hands rested on her lap, fingers still, deliberate. When she looked up and their eyes met, she smiled. Not nervous, not apologetic, just a simple, steady smile. Caleb stopped walking. His first reaction was confusion. His second was heat rising sharply in his chest. This was not what Evan had told him. He had been promised a normal date. Coffee, conversation, awkward laughter, a clean exit. Instead, he was standing frozen while a dozen thoughts crashed into his mind at once. Pity, anger, fear, and underneath all of it, a deep resentment at being cornered into something he had not agreed to. He turned halfway toward the door. The woman noticed. Her smile faded slightly. She raised one hand, not to stop him, but to acknowledge what she saw on his face. Then she signed. Caleb did not know sign language, not a single word, but somehow, without sound, without explanation, he understood. "You want to leave?" He hesitated. She picked up her phone and typed quickly. She turned the screen toward him. "You can. I won't be offended." That did something to him. The permission, the dignity. She was not begging him to stay. She was not apologizing for existing. She was offering him a choice. Caleb exhaled slowly and pulled out the chair across from her. He sat. "I didn't know," he said, too bluntly, too honestly. She nodded and typed again. They never tell the whole truth. That was when anger replaced confusion. Caleb excused himself and stepped outside, rain soaking through his jacket. He called Evan immediately. "What the hell did you do?" he demanded. Evan stammered. He tried to explain. He said it shouldn't matter. He said Lila was amazing. He said Caleb needed to stop hiding from life. Caleb hung up without replying. When he went back inside, Lila was still there. She did not look surprised. She looked tired. "I'm sorry," Caleb said. "I shouldn't be here." She studied him carefully, then typed, "Sit. Just 5 minutes. Then you can go." He stayed. Those 5 minutes turned into 20. Lila Monroe had been deaf since the accident. A drunk driver, a crushed spine, a life divided into before and after. She had once danced, once loved loud music, once dreamed of traveling without fear. Now people either stared or avoided looking at her altogether. Caleb wrote about his wife, about the hospital room, about holding her hand while machines beeped around them, about the guilt of being the one who survived, about Sophie asking questions he could not answer. At one point, Lila reached across the table and gently touched his wrist. The contact was brief, careful. It felt grounding. She signed slowly, deliberately. He watched the movement of her hands, the expression on her face. Pain doesn't mean your life ended. It means it changed. Something cracked inside him. They left together when the cafe closed. Not as a couple, not as a promise. Just two people walking into the rain side by side. Over the next weeks they kept meeting. Caleb learned small signs. Hello. Thank you. Sorry, Lila laughed when he messed them up. Sophie watched wide-eyed from the kitchen table as her father practiced in front of the mirror. Lila met Sophie at the park. She knelt beside her wheelchair and signed carefully. Sophie signed back with clumsy enthusiasm. Children, Caleb realized, did not see limitations. They saw people. But the world was not always kind. At a grocery store, a stranger spoke loudly and slowly to Lila, as if volume could replace respect. At a restaurant, a waiter ignored her entirely and spoke only to Caleb. Once a man asked Caleb if he was a hero for being with her. Each time, Caleb felt something darker rise in him, a rage he had not known he carried. Lila never reacted the way people expected. She did not cry. She did not argue. She endured. Until the night everything broke. They were invited to Evan's birthday dinner. Caleb hesitated. Lila hesitated more. She had learned what crowds could bring. Still, she agreed. The restaurant was loud, crowded, unforgiving. Halfway through the meal, someone at a nearby table laughed too loudly. A woman leaned over and whispered something. Another person snorted. Caleb caught the words. What a waste. He stood so fast his chair fell backward. Lila grabbed his arm. Her eyes pleaded. Please don't. But something in Caleb snapped. He faced the room. His voice cut through the noise. She is not a waste, he said, and neither am I for loving her. Silence spread like a held breath. Lila looked at him, tears brimming, not from shame, but from being seen. They left together. Outside, Lila signed with shaking hands. I didn't want to be your burden. Caleb cupped her face gently. You are not my burden, he said. You are my choice. But deep down, he knew the fight had only begun, because love did not erase prejudice. It challenged it. And the world does not like being challenged. Should Caleb keep fighting for this love, even if it costs him everything? Yes or no? Caleb did not sleep that night. Lila's words kept circling his mind. I didn't want to be your burden. He lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling while Sophie slept down the hall, her small breaths steady and unaware. He realized something unsettling. Loving Lila was not what scared him. Being forced to defend that love in a world that would never make it easy was what terrified him. The next morning, reality came knocking. Caleb's phone buzzed while he was making Sophie's lunch. It was a voicemail from his supervisor. Short, polite, cold. They needed to talk. Today. By noon, he was sitting across from a conference table, hands folded, heart pounding. His manager avoided eye contact as she explained that someone had complained. A customer had seen him arguing in a restaurant. The company valued professionalism. They were putting him on probation. Caleb understood what they did not say. Trouble followed him now. That afternoon, Lila met him at the park. She could tell something was wrong before he even typed it. She watched his shoulders, his breathing. She signed slowly, carefully. You are carrying this alone. Caleb shook his head. He typed back with frustration. I chose this. I won't make it your problem. Lila stopped him. Her hands moved with urgency. You do not protect someone by disappearing. He swallowed hard. He had done that before. After his wife died, he had retreated. He had convinced himself that isolation was strength. He saw now how wrong he had been. They sat together in silence as Sophie played nearby. A woman walked past, glanced at Lila's wheelchair, then at Caleb, then looked away too quickly. Caleb felt the familiar burn in his chest. Lila noticed. She signed again. People will stare. Some will judge. Some will hate. If you stay with me, you must accept that this will not stop. Caleb typed slowly. I am afraid I will fail you. Lila smiled softly. Then fail. Just do not leave. The next weeks tested them in ways neither expected. Caleb started learning sign language seriously. Not just greetings or apologies. Full conversations, grammar, expression. He practiced every night until his hands cramped. Sophie joined him, turning learning into a game. Lila watched them with a mix of joy and disbelief, but the more visible their relationship became, the harsher the reactions grew. A man at a gas station asked Caleb if he was being paid. A co-worker joked that Caleb was chasing sympathy points. Evan tried to smooth things over, but only made it worse by insisting Caleb was being dramatic. One night, Evan confronted him directly. You are making your life harder than it needs to be, Evan said. Think about Sophie. About stability, Caleb snapped. You mean think about how other people are comfortable. Evan went quiet. Then came the letter. It arrived on a Thursday afternoon, slipped under Caleb's door. Official, legal. Someone had reported concerns about Sophie's home environment. A welfare check was scheduled. Caleb felt the room tilt. He read the letter 3 times, hoping he had misunderstood. He had not. Someone believed that Lila's presence made his home unsafe for a child. He called Lila immediately. His hands shook so badly he dropped the phone once. When she read the message he sent, her face drained of color. She signed slowly, each motion heavy. "This is my fault." Caleb rushed to her apartment. He knelt in front of her wheelchair, eyes burning. "No, this is not you. This is them." But fear crept in anyway. Fear that the world could take Sophie from him. Fear that loving Lila might cost him the one thing he could not lose. That night, Caleb did something he hated himself for. He asked Lila to leave. Just temporarily, he explained through tears and broken sentences. Just until the investigation passed. Just until things calmed down. Lila listened without interrupting. When he finished, she did not cry. She did not yell. She nodded. "I understand." The next day, her apartment felt empty. Too quiet. Sophie noticed immediately. "Where is Lila?" she asked. Caleb struggled to answer. The welfare check came and went. The house passed inspection. The case was closed. But the damage was done. Caleb stood in his kitchen that night, staring at Lila's empty space. He realized something awful. In trying to protect his daughter, he had become the very person who had hurt Lila all her life. Someone who believed love was conditional. Someone who asked her to disappear to make others comfortable. He drove to Lila's apartment in the rain, heart pounding harder than it had the night of their first meeting. She answered the door slowly. Before she could sign anything, Caleb began signing himself. Awkward, imperfect, but sincere. "I was wrong. I was afraid. I asked you to leave because I was weak. I am sorry." Lila stared at his hands, eyes wide. Tears spilled over as she responded. "I thought you had chosen the world over me." Caleb shook his head. "I choose you, even when it scares me." They held each other in silence. No sound, no words, just truth. The next weekend, Caleb took Lila and Sophie to the community center. A public event, a deliberate choice. When people stared, Caleb did not flinch. When someone whispered, he stood closer. At one point, Sophie climbed into Lila's lap and signed clumsily, "My dad loves you." Lila laughed through tears. Caleb felt something settle in his chest. Not certainty, but resolve. He knew the road ahead would not be kind. He knew there would be more letters, more stares, more battles. But for the first time since his wife died, he also knew something else. He was no longer hiding. When fear forces a choice, should love still be worth the risk? Yes or no? Caleb knew the world would not suddenly become kinder just because he had made his choice. But something inside him had shifted. Fear no longer ruled the decisions he made. Responsibility did not mean erasing love. Protection did not mean silence. For the first time, he understood that courage was not loud. It was consistent. Weeks passed, and life did not collapse the way he had once imagined it would. It pressed harder, yes, but it did not break them. The welfare report was officially closed, but its shadow lingered. Caleb's supervisor called him back into the office. This time, the tone was different. Someone higher up had reviewed the complaint and found it baseless. Caleb was cleared. No probation, no warning. The apology was awkward and incomplete, but it was enough. When Caleb told Lila, she smiled and signed something that made his chest ache. Sometimes the truth just waits for the right moment. But the real test came from Sophie. One evening, as Caleb tucked her into bed, she asked a question he had been dreading. "Why do some people not like Lila?" Caleb sat on the edge of the bed, searching for words that would not harden his daughter's heart too soon. "Some people are afraid of things they do not understand," he said. "And sometimes, instead of learning, they push those things away." Sophie thought for a long moment. "I understand her," she said simply. Caleb swallowed. Children, he realized again, were often braver than adults. Lila moved back in slowly, not as a retreat from the world, but as a statement to it. This was their home, not perfect, not quiet, but real. Caleb continued learning sign language until it became second nature. He no longer translated every thought in his head. He spoke with his hands instinctively, with confidence. Lila watched him one night as he told Sophie a bedtime story entirely in signs, his expressions animated, his movements full of warmth. After Sophie fell asleep, Lila signed something he would never forget. "I used to believe love always required sacrifice. Now I know it requires presence." Caleb kissed her hands, each finger carrying a meaning he had once been blind to. The community center invited Lila to speak at an accessibility awareness event. She hesitated. Standing in front of a crowd had never frightened her before the accident. Now it did. The stares, the assumptions, the possibility of being reduced to an inspiration story instead of a full human being. Caleb told her he would support whatever choice she made. She chose to speak. The night of the event, the room was full. Parents, teenagers, teachers, strangers. Caleb sat in the front row with Sophie on his lap. Lila wheeled herself onto the small stage, hands trembling just slightly. She did not speak with her voice. She spoke with her body, with her hands, with silence. She told them about the accident, about losing sound and movement, about the moment she realized the world no longer saw her as capable. She told them about being pitied instead of respected, about being ignored, about being called brave for simply existing. Then she signed something that made the room go still. I am not brave because I survived. I am brave because I stayed. Caleb felt tears run freely down his face. He did not wipe them away. After the event, people approached her differently. Not all of them, but enough to matter. A woman apologized for the way she had once spoken to her sister. A teenage boy asked how to learn sign language. A man admitted he had never thought about accessibility until that moment. Change, Caleb realized, rarely arrived all at once. It came in pieces. Months later, Caleb stood in the same cafe where it had all begun. Riverstone coffee had not changed. The smell was the same. The music was the same, but he was not. He knelt in front of Layla's wheelchair, heart racing, hands steady. He signed slowly, clearly. I cannot promise you an easy life. I cannot promise protection from cruelty. But I promise this. I will not ask you to disappear for my comfort again. Will you marry me? Lila covered her mouth with both hands. Tears streamed freely as she signed back. Yes, I will. Their wedding was small, no spectacle, no speeches about overcoming odds. Just love, honest and grounded. Sophie walked down the aisle proudly, scattering flower petals with exaggerated care. When Lila signed her vows, the room was silent. Every eye focused not on what she lacked, but on what she gave. Years later, Caleb would think back to the man he had been before that rainy afternoon. The man who sat in a truck afraid to walk inside. The man who believed love was something that could be safely avoided. He would barely recognize him, because love, he had learned, was not the absence of fear. It was the decision to move forward anyway. And sometimes, the quietest voices changed the loudest hearts. Now I want to hear from you. How did this story make you feel? And what do you think about the choices Caleb and Lila made? If this story touched you, please comment below and share your thoughts. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon next to the subscribe button so you never miss a new story. Tell us which country you are watching from, and if this story meant something to you, please share it with someone who might need it today.